Hey friends, welcome back to Jason's Design Shop, where this week an old friend from high school instant messaged me and said he wanted an epoxy table, but something unique. He'd seen my bear diorama and the other things I was doing more artistic than just an epoxy table. And I said, sure, what do you have in mind? And I told him what I had, some cookies that I've been working on, and cherry, by the way. And he said, cool. So we played around with some different designs and came up with the picture you see there on that you clicked on for the thumbnail, and there it is. We got a cool Tesla epoxy table that lights up, no less. So stay tuned to see how this thing was built. It's got like 11 epoxy pores in it because it's all made with tabletop epoxy. No deep pores here, my friend. Stay tuned. Here we go. He has a Tesla and would like to throw the keys when he comes in the door on his Tesla table. Isn't that an awesome idea? First thing we got to do to make this happen is build a form underneath it to hold the epoxy and the side walls. Grabbing my skill saw and some old plywood from the rocket build I had done this summer. You can check out that video. Made a 22-foot rocket. Now, I've never done this before, so I'm really crossing my fingers and hoping it will release from the tape fairly easily. But watched a lot of videos where it seems to work out, so just put some wedges in there and it pops the epoxy off the form. Alright, so now I'm tracing out the inside space so I can cut that out and make my blanks to go on the inside of this space so I don't have to use so much epoxy. So the goal here is to have about a 1/2 inch gap on all sides all the way around for the epoxy to fill in and connect everything together, and these just to be a filler. About this time I feel like I'm in the zone and everything's going really well. Alright, why not hit the thumbs up right now if you're enjoying this and this unique creative project. You know, I did search on YouTube for a Tesla table and I did not find a single hit. So I'm hoping this will take YouTube by storm, and please share it and like it, show all your friends, and maybe it will finally get some traction and I'll have one video out there that takes off. That would be pretty cool. Thanks for your help in that effort. So I did not have a bandsaw, so I had to take it to my work. They have a big wood shop there, and I was able to cut out this thing really quick. Ripping out these short pieces, getting them all the same size, so I can make all the letters of the Tesla name, but it turns out they're not all the same length. I'm going to do some more cutting and make them all go together nicely. I take these over to my handmade sander, something else I could buy a real one of someday, and round off the edges because these are not 45-degree angles. They're kind of curved if you look at the symbol a little more closely. And the rock and roll. Put them all together with those rounded tips on the bottom and the top of each letter, and it looks pretty awesome. And this is the Yamagate red that the client wanted, and it begins our first pour of epoxy, the first of 11. There it is, day 2. Perfect. Yeah. Alright, now the next layer will stick on here much better. Well, I'm going to get this coming up through here before we put all this in. At this point, the plywood centerpiece is being held down by the epoxy. We don't need to push it down anymore, and we can go around and fill this crack up with a new pour of epoxy. This will be pour number 3, as you see there. Spin this thing around and created a little donut with a donut hole in the middle. Kind of interesting. So Alright, pouring the final slot pour, I guess you can call it. We're filling up the gap, locking the two pieces together into one slab here. It kind of overflowed a little bit, but that's okay, because now we need to put the lights in. These light strips are pretty cool. They went on pretty easy. They had to peel back and stick. Of course, it sticked well to the smooth surface of the epoxy. But now I'm at the end of this project and looking back at it, and if I could go back and do this over, this is one part I would repeat right here, where that did the V at the very end. Instead of doing that V, I would have it tuck in underneath the Tesla sign and go down to the tip and back up, framing in the actual Tesla sign like it does at the top a little better. Pour number 5. We only got about halfway up our tape here. So here we go. Just because you're interested, I know you want to know, let's do a little test. Let's turn the lights off on here and then off over here. Oh yeah, you're going to be able to see Tesla coming through there over all the red. That's awesome. Alright, pour number 6 with some red. Hopefully it's not too thick. Whoa, this is where we get to see the Tesla sign really pop out. Cover up the lights. Perfect. We just lifted the back up a little bit, adjusted it flat. As we come up to the surface, we need it to be really flat. Look how few bubbles there are in there. That's great. Alright, what do you think of that? Looks pretty cool. Next layer is going to be clear coat. There it is, nice and hard, ready to cover the whole thing. It's almost flush. Perfect. Kind of a big signature, but why not? Alright, so the time has come to do what I've been dreading, which is to make this long cut through the entire thing. And I don't have a track saw, and even if I did, the wire there would be in the way, although I could probably cut it from the top. So I tried to get as close to that edge as possible and make a mark, and looked at my trusty saw stop there. She winked back at me and says, sure, I can do that. But I'll need to extend the fence because the other side up against the white fence is not equal. So I need to build on the front left there a little holder. As you can see, there it is. I glue gunned a bunch of pieces so it would be straight as I went through and went round. And I extended the fence itself with a 2x4 and pinched that up against the fence and did it in 3 passes, I think, here. And it worked amazing. So once again, the saw stop did not let me down. This has just been my favorite machine in the shop ever since I got it. It does everything I ask her to do. All right. All right, one last check with the air bubble. At this point, it's really critical to get this top super flat because this next final layer of epoxy will go across the entire thing, and we don't want it sliding to one side and getting really thick and putting unwanted pressure on this little piece of tape that's only meant to support about 1/8 of an inch of epoxy. And that would be catastrophic if it started pouring off one side. And it wouldn't look good where you have a real thick piece of clear on one side and thin on the other. So I'm mixing up the biggest batch I've ever done. It's basically double what we'd been doing all this time in a bigger mixing bowl. So I thought, hey, here's a chance for me to try the electric mixer. It's actually deep enough to put it down in there. But I was disappointed. It did whip up too many bubbles. So I would never suggest using the electric mixer with tabletop epoxy. It just doesn't have time to release all the bubbles nicely like a long set epoxy would, a deep pour epoxy that is. So here I got a cool little stick with it's like a ruler with 2 little nails that go down 1/8 inch on each end. That lets me push it around and keep it all even. Woohoo! There it is. Rock hard. Beautiful. Take the tape off. Sand the edges. Polyurethane the underneath and the sides, and we're done. Put some legs on it. Woohoo! Boy, yeah, exciting to be halfway through. We're in this already for about 2 months, and funny to see my little moments of excitement as I hit a milestone there, getting the epoxy on. But really, I'm going to put in another 2 weeks here, and before I say the same thing again, with grinding and lots of sanding and endless hours on the weekends and every day after work. It's become my Mona Lisa, I call it. So I sand this up and go ahead and polyurethane it like the back, and it comes out pretty nice. But as I start to analyze the whole thing and scrutinize, look at the details, right, I start seeing over and over the 2 little bubbles in the front and that little scratch in the back. And I'm like, this is just not gonna work for me. I want this thing to be perfect and beautiful. So I get out the drill and do the unthinkable. I look down into those little holes and I decide to drill them out. So Tesla table, you're already getting new holes drilled into you. Here we go. All right. Don't tell me this isn't scary and sucks. But there's a bubble there and a bigger one there. We're going to drill it out, fill it with epoxy, sand the whole thing, back up to polish. That's the goal. Learn something new every day. Gonna run that right into there. Oh, come on, get in there. We're gonna sand everything, doesn't matter. There it goes. Alright, let that settle and dry. So this is my first time sanding epoxy and then trying to bring it back to a high gloss. They make it look pretty easy in the tutorial videos that you can find on YouTube, but they did mention that they get a lot of people that can't do it the first time, so don't be upset. Three times. Wow, this really looks good. It's amazing, right? but I still see a couple shadows, a couple lines. Well, once you polish it, you can see all the scratches from the 600 sandpaper still swirls in there. I'm not going to get a high gloss. I got to go back to the 600, take out the 400 there, and then I can't jump to 1000. I need to get an 800 and then go up from there. So all the polishing did was reveal all the scratches. Alright, we got some more sandpaper, 800, and then the 1000. So let's do it. Hopefully water will keep it from caking up. Go, 1000 grit. Just the softest of hazes. No more scratch marks. We did it. Even if we can't get it more than that, that is perfect. Go. We're gonna try. There. So we're gonna do this true cut heavy compound one more time. This one. Boom, there it is. Oh, so awesome. Let's see how it looks with the lights off. The final is, it shines pretty good. Not bright enough in the letters to see it too well, but you can see the symbol. It's pretty muted. Kind of a dark look, but that's cool. The bright light's coming out over here, so you can see on your floor what you're doing. Alright, let's get this house, get the legs on it, get our final pictures.